Hello everyone. Okay, this is the part following our chapter 2 on the part dealing with foreign companies. Alright, this is following from that. The part that is not in the book. Alright. Now, this is a document showing three structures or three techniques, if you like, that people use, foreigners use to get round applying for the alien business operation license, or you could say avoid applying for the alien business operating license. All right, and why people avoid is, as I have mentioned, the top four reasons actually why people choose rather not to apply for the alien business operation license. Now, there are one or two things I want you to take note first before I start explaining these techniques. There are three techniques here. Super minority, as the name here. Alright. There is the nominee shareholding technique. I think this is the one that a lot of people heard of. And there's the preference shareholding techniques. The first thing you have to note is, and I want to make it very clear. The nominee shareholding technique is 100% illegal, not lawful. Alright, anybody caught using this technique, the nominee shareholding technique, you could be subjected to criminal penalties. You will be imprisoned under Section 36 of the Alien Business Operation Act 1999. I repeat, the nominee shareholding technique is 100% illegal, not lawful. It carries criminal penalties and also civil penalties as well. Alright. Okay. The penalties are as stated in Section 36 of the Alien Business Operation Act 1999. Okay. Yet, alright, this is the technique that is in practice very widely used. And I'll explain to you in a minute why, despite it being 100% illegal, people is still using it like crazy. And this calls for certain amount of reforms to the law, especially Section 36. Alright. The other technique that I will talk about is preference shareholding technique. Okay, this technique, the law as it stands today, right, is not yet, I repeat, not yet illegal. So it's still legal, this technique. Alright, there are some laws proposed into the parliament already. It has gone through one or two sittings in the parliament already. Alright, on consideration, certain laws that will make this technique, preference shareholding technique or preference shareholders technique, illegal. Alright, but right now, not yet. I repeat, not yet. But it may become illegal if those laws are passed. Alright, the super minority technique, I will not talk about this. I will only talk about nominee shareholding first, and I'll talk about preference shareholding technique. I will not talk about the super minority. Why? Because it's not very popular. If you want to know, we can discuss it during our tutorial or our question and answer discussion. Alright. Okay, if you want to know more about this technique. Okay, and I think if we discuss there, and if you know how this technique works, you will know why it's not popular. Alright. I know you don't have this document. Alright, I will put, if I have not already done, I will put a screenshot of this into the line group. Alright, in fact, there are one or two other additional documents that are here, that are supposed to be here, but I haven't got them, so I just have to explain it. Okay, the documents that are missing is relating to this technique, so I will have to explain it. So you need to listen carefully when I'm explaining this technique, how it works. You need some documents to support it, and I don't have those documents with me right now. This one, I will draw something so that you can see it clearer, the preference shareholding technique. Alright, so let's start with the nominee shareholders technique first. Okay, now like I say, this technique is illegal. It's actually a crime to be using this technique. Alright, but people are still using it very widely because from an evidence aspect, it's difficult to prove that a crime has been committed, and also even a civil offense has been committed. Alright, let's start with this first. Alright, as you can see, alright, the shareholdings of the company, don't look at this yet, alright, and don't look at the directors yet. The shareholding of the company, okay, is 70% held by Thais, 30% held by foreigners. Okay, now from the outside, it looks as if this company, okay, with this kind of shareholding, it looks as if this is a Thai company because it has 70% Thais of the shares held by Thais, 70% of the shares held by Thais and 30% of the shares held by foreigners. But the truth of the matter is these Thai shareholders, the shareholders that hold this 70% of the shares, they are not the real shareholders of the company. They are nominee shareholders. What's the meaning of nominee? Nominee means agent, representative, ตัวแทน. Who are they being the agents for? Well, they are being the agents for the real shareholders of the company. These guys, the foreigners. Right, so in reality, 100% of the company shares are owned by these guys, the foreigners. Alright, these Thais are not the real shareholders. They're just holding the shares for the foreigners. Now, you would think, if you think carefully, alright, there will be a question that arises in your head. That would be, well, if the company has 70% of the shares held by Thais, and from the outside, right, to the people outside, to the Ministry of Commerce, okay, it looks like a Thai company. Look like a Thai company. Alright, then what about when this company, okay, when this company, you have to make your own notes on this paper, alright? I'm not going to write anything on this piece of paper. So you have to write your own notes on it. When I send you the screenshot, right? Print it out and write your own notes on it. Okay, coming back. This company, let's call this company ABC Company Limited. For example, this company is called ABC Company Limited. Alright, and ABC Company, let's say they make, alright, 5 million baht. 5 million baht profit last year. Okay. With that kind of profit, okay, there is a possibility that the shareholders of the company would want to share the profits. Does that mean that these guys here, who at least on record, right, shows that they hold 70% of the shares in the company? Because if you go to the Ministry of Commerce, Kasong Panin, and check what they call the shareholders list, or in Thai they call Ban Chi Pu Thu Hun. Ban Chi Pu Thu Hun. The Ban Chi Pu Thu Hun, or the shareholders list, would show that the company's shares are 70% of the shares held by Thais and 30% held by foreigners. That would give rise to the possibility of the Thais having the right to get some of the profits made by ABC Company Limited, wouldn't it be? But we all know that in reality, These guys, the Thais, are not the real shareholders. The real shareholders are this, the foreigners. They in fact own 100% of the shares. So there must be a way for the foreigners to block, right? I have to say, to block the Thais from being able to do such a thing. For example, right? To vote in the shareholders meeting, right? So that a resolution or a decision can be made in the shareholders meeting, right? For them to get their dividends, their share in the profit. There must be some way for these real shareholders to block this situation from happening. Now, if you look carefully here, alright, it says sign and no date share transfer documents. Alright, sign and no date share transfer documents. And it also says sign and no date proxies. Alright, now the share transfer document, alright, and the proxy are two documents that would effectively block these nominee or agent or representative shareholders from being able to do anything against the foreigners, the real shareholders of the company. Alright, for example, voting in the shareholders meeting to pay out the dividends to them. Alright, don't forget they own 70% of the shares. They could have the majority vote in the shareholders meeting. And this majority votes in the shareholders meeting would be a decision or a resolution of the shareholders meeting to pay them the dividends. Yes, of course, you will pay the foreigners, but who will get most of the dividends? Who holds the most shares? At least on paper, on record, right? In the shareholders list. So, these two documents, the first one first, sign and no date share transfer document. Now listen carefully. This is effectively a share sale document. Okay? A share sale document, สัญญาซื้อขายหุ้น. Right? Whereby the Thai shareholders would sign these documents right at the beginning when the company is set up, when the company is incorporated. They'll sign these share documents or share sale contract for them to sell. Not for them to sell, for them on selling. Okay? So basically they say, okay, I, Kun Somchai, agree on selling. I, Kun Somchai, agree on selling my, say for example, 100 shares, okay, to Mr. John Smith. Okay, and Kun Somchai would sign this share transfer document or share sale contract, okay, as the seller of his 100 shares in ABC Company Limited. Alright? Now, it's a share sale contract, so there should be a purchaser, right? Somchai sell, so there should be a purchaser as well to sign. It should be John Smith. But however, John Smith hasn't signed yet, has not signed yet. This document, the share transfer document or share sale contract, alright, that is signed by Kun Somchai, alright, to sell on, no, not to sell, on selling is his 100 shares, alright, would be kept. Alright, the share transfer document, I repeat, only has Kun Somchai's signature on selling his shares. The share transfer document or the share sale contract does not have a date on it, the date of the contract. It only has the signature of the seller, Kun Somchai. It doesn't have a date. It doesn't have the purchaser's name. Presumably, the purchaser would be the foreigners, John Smith, for example. But John Smith hasn't signed yet. This share sale document or share sale contract or share transfer document would be kept by John Smith in a safe location. Alright, this document cannot get into the wrong hands. In other words, the hands of the police or the hands of the Ministry of Commerce or the Revenue Department, because this document proves the illegality, the unlawfulness that a nominee shareholding technique has been used. Whenever the Thai shareholders try to do something funny against the foreign shareholders, alright, the foreign shareholder, for example, Mr. John Smith, will take out the share transfer document, sign the share transfer document as the buyer of Kun Somchai's shares, go to the Ministry of Commerce to update the shareholders list, find a new Thai shareholder to sign another share transfer document. Okay, let's say Kun B. Alright. Oh, sorry. I got myself confused again. Sorry, backtrack. Whenever Kun Somchai try to do something funny, right, or do something against the foreign shareholders' intentions, right, then John Smith would find Kun B, a new Thai shareholder, to come and sign the share transfer document as the purchaser. Sorry, just now I said John Smith. It should be Kun B as the purchaser, to buy the shares over from Kun Somchai. And then the shareholders list in the Ministry of Commerce would be updated. Kun Somchai's name will be taken out of the shareholders list, and the new shareholder would be in there as Kun B. Alright, and then John Smith will get Kun B to sign another one of these share transfer document or share sale contract as the seller. Kun B as the seller now. Okay, the new share transfer document, and again there's no date and there's no purchaser. Alright, in this new share transfer document or share sale contract. There is this other document here. Okay, as you can see, it's stated sign and no date proxies. A proxy is a power of attorney, a document of appointing someone to do something. Or in Thai you could say it's a หนังสือมอบอำนาจ, a power of attorney. Right, basically to appoint somebody to go to the shareholders meeting in this case. Alright, now Kun Somchai, who is the nominee shareholder, you don't want Somchai to go to the shareholders meeting. You, as in John Smith, doesn't want, right, Somchai to go to the shareholders meeting. So again, at the beginning, when the company is first incorporated, Kun Somchai would sign a lot, maybe 20 pieces, okay, 20 documents of this power of attorneys or proxy to appoint John Smith to go to the shareholders meeting for Somchai. Right? So by signing these documents or power of attorneys over to John Smith to go to the shareholders meeting, Kun Somchai would never be able to attend the shareholders meeting and to vote in the shareholders meeting as one of the co-owners of the company. These two documents, the share transfer document, or you could say the share sale contract, and the proxy, right? Proxy in Thai they call หนังสือมอบฉันทาส. If you don't like it, you can use the word หนังสือมอบอำนาจ, the power of attorney. It's basically a document where Kun Somchai say, I, Kun Somchai, hereby appoint, right? ขอมอบอำนาจให้ or ขอมอบฉันทาสให้ John Smith นะ เพื่อเข้าประชุม right? ผู้ถือหุ้น to go to the shareholders meeting. On what date? There's no date stated there. No date. At what time? No time stated on this document. Somchai will sign 20 of this, for example, and give it to the real shareholder of the company, John Smith. So whenever John Smith and other foreign shareholders right, John Smith and other foreign shareholders wants to have a shareholders meeting, John Smith will take out this document, put the date of the meeting in, put the time of the meeting in, bring this document to the meeting. John Smith will go to the shareholders meeting to say, I am coming to the meeting because I'm holding 30% of the company shares. And I'm also coming to the meeting for Somchai, because Somchai has already appointed me to come for him with this proxy, this power of attorney. Alright. Now, these two documents are signed right at the beginning when the company was first incorporated and handed over to the real shareholder of the company, the foreign shareholders, John Smith or John Smith and friends, foreign friends. These two documents cannot go into the wrong hands. Alright, wrong hand as in the police hands or the Ministry of Commerce hands or the Revenue Department's hands, because if they get there, it shows a crime. Alright, and this is why, in reality, those documents never get into the wrong hands. And this kind of unlawfulness, this kind of crime goes on and is widely used today. Okay, even though it's 100% illegal under Section 36 of the Alien Business Operation Act. Alright, there's another aspect of this which makes this technique so widely used and nobody is really much afraid of. If you look carefully at Section 36, alright, if you go and Google Alien Business Operation Act 1999 and you look under Section 36 and look at the part in Section 36 that talks about the penalty, right, the penalty for using nominee shareholders. It says there, when a foreigner gets a Thai person to hold the shares for him or her or it, right, that foreigner has committed a crime. Now that's fine. That's fine. Alright, as far as the application of the law is concerned. But what gets really silly, not kind of silly, really silly, is what follows from that. What follows from that is that it says the Thai person who agrees to act as the nominee is also jointly liable, jointly wrong, ร่วมรับผิด together with the foreigner. In other words, the Thai person who helped the foreigner to hold the shares has also jointly committed the crime. Now, if you have such a law, then which Thai person is going to run to the police, run to the Ministry of Commerce, run to the Revenue Department to say, hey officer, I am a nominee shareholder? Why would they want to shoot themselves in the foot? To bomb themselves as well? Because they are also, the Thai shareholder is, nominee shareholder is also jointly wrong. Have a look at Section 36 carefully and you will see what I mean. Alright, I'll come back to the Thai director later on. Alright, we leave the director out first. Just concentrate on shareholdings first. This technique, preference shareholders technique. Again, the aim of this technique here, alright, is to limit, restrict, จำกัด the voting power, the voting rights of the Thai shareholders, because they are not the real shareholders. The capital of the company, 100% of the capital of the company comes from the foreigners. So again, these are also in a way nominee shareholders, except this technique is not nominee shareholding technique, it's a preference shareholding technique. Right now, it's still legal. That is why many of the multinational companies love these techniques. Alright, And this technique can be made very complicated just to hide this technique. I'll explain how, I give an example of roughly how it works in real life. But let's talk about the heart of how the technique works first. Okay, the core or the heart of how the technique works. Alright, it works on restricting, limiting the voting power, the voting right of these guys, the Thai shareholders. Because they are not the real shareholders of the company. Alright, the real shareholders of the company is again here. All the capital of the company comes from these guys, the foreigners. Okay, now you can see this word here, Articles of Association. Articles of Association in Thai, meaning ข้อบังคับของบริษัท. What it is that it is a set of rules, or you call bylaws, internal rules of the company. Internal rules in the sense that these rules talks about how the company should function on the inside. For example, okay, how many times per year should the shareholders have their shareholders meeting? Should it be monthly, every 2 months? The law only requires one every year, right? For company limited, right? Okay, and when there is a shareholders meeting, alright, should they specify the how many votes for the resolution to carry? Alright, what is the required quorum to start the meeting? Alright, what should the company do when it makes a profit? Should they pay dividends every time it makes a profit? Or what should the company do when it makes a loss? Should they close the company in the moment they make a loss in 1 year or 3 years or what? Should the company make a loss in 3 years consecutively before they close? So these things are stated in the bylaws of the company. Or legally they call it Articles of Association, ข้อบังคับของบริษัท. Now this document, Articles of Association, ข้อบังคับของบริษัท, is not a required document according to the Thai law. It's not a required document. It is optional for the company to have or not have this document. Alright, I better tell you the legal position first. It's optional. Okay, the Thai law doesn't say you must have Articles of Association. No, the Thai law doesn't say that. It's optional. If the company chooses not to have an Articles of Association, the company, I mean the shareholders of the company, in that very first shareholders meeting, remember when we discussed about how the company is born, the steps of how the company is born, at that very first shareholders meeting, or you call the statutory meeting, that is where the company would decide to have an Articles of Association if it wants to. The shareholders in that very first shareholders meeting would decide to have an Articles of Association if they want to. Okay, this is the legal position, alright, what the law says. Now, with regards to preference shareholding technique. For preference shareholding technique, if you want to use this technique, you must, it's not optional, you must have an Articles of Association registered. All Articles of Association are registered at the Ministry of Commerce. Alright? So let me repeat. Articles of Association is not a compulsory according to the law. It is optional for the company. Any company. Alright? But if your company want to use preference shareholding technique, you must have an Articles of Association. It's no more optional. All Articles of Association would have to be registered. Now, why, when you want to, coming back to this technique, alright, why, when you want to use the preference shareholding technique, you must have Articles of Association? The reason is because of this. The Articles of Association would specify, labu, stated clearly, that the shares of the company is divided into 2 groups of shares. Class A and Class B. Sometimes they call it Class A, Class B. Sometimes they call it group group 1, group 2 shareholders. Okay, or they use the beautiful word preference shares or preference shareholding. Take note, especially the students who study finance or economics. The word preference shares, หุ้นบริมสิทธิ์ is used here to sound good, just for using the name. Alright, the normal finance meaning of the word หุ้นบริมสิทธิ์ or share preference share is not applied here. It's just the name to be used here to sound good, so that it doesn't sound like group 1 share or class A shares. Alright, the normal meaning of the word preference share according to the finance dictionary or economics dictionary is not applicable here. It's just using the name, alright, to look good here. Alright, the articles of association would write the company shares are divided into 2 groups. นะหุ้นของบริษัทแบ่งเป็น2 กลุ่ม กลุ่ม A กลุ่ม B or หุ้นบริมสิทธิ์หรือหุ้นสามัญ preference shares and ordinary shares. They say, and the articles will also go on to say that the shareholders they don't use the word Thai shareholders or foreign shareholders. They just say that the shareholders who hold the preference shares or class A shares, alright, they don't mention any nationality in the articles, alright. The shareholders who hold the preference shares or class A share or group 1 share would have 10 shares to 1 vote, for example. Okay, it can be specified at any amount. It can be 100 shares to 1 vote. It can be 1,000 shares to 1 vote. Who specifies it? The shareholders at that very first statutory shareholders meeting. Alright, and who will be the shareholders at that very first meeting? The foreigners, of course. Alright. The foreigners. They don't use the word foreigners in the articles anymore. They don't use that. They just say the shareholders who are holding the ordinary shares. นะผู้ถือหุ้นสามัญ will have 1 หุ้น 1 เสียง 1 share, 1 vote. Now with this kind of a setup in a company's shareholdings divided into 2 groups, let's pick an example here. If the company has 100 shares, for example, okay, for easy explanation, if the total shareholdings of the company is 100 shares, how many votes do you think the Thai shareholders would have? With 10 shares, 10 หุ้นต่อ 1 เสียง with 10 shares to 1 vote. How many votes do you think the Thai shareholders would have? And how many votes do you think the foreign shareholders would have? Take a look. Yes, you guessed it correct. With 100 shares, alright, the Thai shareholders would have 70 shares. The foreign shareholders would have 30 shares. 70 shares, 10 shares to 1 vote, the Thais would have 7 votes. And how many votes would the foreigners have? With 1 share, 1 vote. 30 votes. So you see, the voting power, the voting rights of the Thai shareholders are much restricted with this technique. Alright, right now, as I explained today, the law hasn't changed, so this technique is still legal. But keep your eyes out on the news, it may become illegal in the future. Many of the multinationals, right? I don't want to name too many names, okay? I only name those that were in the newspaper, True, DTech, alright, Big C, okay? And including the Big C operation, now what used to be Carrefour, right? They all use this technique I do not know the updated situation. Okay, I repeat, I do not know the updated situation whether these companies are you still using these techniques or not. Okay, but these have been used. All right. I give you a kind of a rough example, all right, on how this technique is really used in real life. Okay, just an example. All right. What we explain here is the heart of the technique, but how it's really applied in real life is quite something else. Because in real life, this technique is made a lot more complicated. The reason for it being made more complicated is so that they can hide the truth. The foreigners can hide the truth on what is really going on, which is preference shareholding is being used and Thai's voting rights are limited or restricted. Okay, I give a rough example on how it works. Okay, this is just a very rough example, right? You have here country a country outside Thailand, a foreign country. And you have here a company called AO company. Alright, AO company. Alright, maybe you can see the word clearly. Alright, yeah, AO company. AO company is located in a foreign country. AO company would come to Thailand, some of its shareholders, alright, would come to Thailand to register, to incorporate this company called, I just use a sample name, alright, let's just call it Greenhose Company Limited, Greenhose Company Limited. Now Greenhose Company Limited, alright, has 80% of its shareholding held by Thai preference shareholders. And of course, these guys, their voting rights are much restricted, as we just explained. Alright, 20% of Greenhose shares are held by foreign ordinary shareholders. 1 share, 1 vote. These guys may be 1,000 shares, 1 vote, 100 shares, 1 vote, 50 shares, 1 vote. Alright. Now, if we just have it like that, alright, though the preference shareholding technique is still legal as it stands today, to the public it doesn't make Greenhose look very good. It doesn't make company A look very good, right? Because they are really just getting around the Thai law. And for your information, Greenhose could be, for example, I repeat, for example, Greenhose could be doing any of the businesses that is listed in list 1. Telecommunication business, for example. Buying and selling land, for example. Newspaper business, for example. Right? Because Greenhose, if you look at the shareholding, is Greenhose a foreign or a Thai company? Of course, it's a Thai company. Why? Because 80% of the shares are held by Thais. Alright, now this doesn't look very good if you have only this. Because from this, people can clearly see, even though there's no law against it right now, the real owners of the company is actually this AO company in a foreign country. So to make it less clear to the public, more levels are created, alright, to hide this. To hide this, to hide what's really going on with the shareholding in Greenhose, alright, more levels of companies are created, alright. As in, let's discuss further. Greenhose, alright, Greenhose, the company itself, which is a Thai company, as you can see, 80%, right? Thai ownership, would go to Ho. Green Ho's Company Limited would become a shareholder of another company called Red A Company Limited. Red A has 90% of its shares held or owned by Green Ho's. 90% of the shares here are owned by Green Ho's. And Green Ho's is a Thai company that would make Red A Company Limited also a Thai company. Why? Because 90% of Red A's shares are owned by Green Ho's. And Green Ho is a Thai person. A Thai person. Why Thai person? 80% Thai, 20% foreign shareholding. Alright? And there is this 10% here, which is owned by the foreign shareholder. Well, the word ordinary is not correct. There's no ordinary here. This is not preference shareholding company, sorry. Alright? So, the foreign shareholder here could be somebody from this company holding the 10% share. Same thing here, this 20%. Foreign ordinary shareholders, one share, one vote. Could be one or two of the shareholders from this company holding the 20% here. But they are just holding the minority shares, as you can see. Alright. And then, to hide it even more further, another level is created. Alright, Red A Company Limited, which is a Thai company, 90% owned by Green Ho's. Green Ho's is Thai. Alright, 90% of the shares owned by Green Ho's. Green Ho's is a Thai company. That would make Red A Thai company as well. Red A would go to hold 95% of the shares in another company. Let's just call it, for example, let's just call it a telecommunication company. The name of the company is called Telecommunication Company. Alright, Red A Company Limited will hold 95% of the shares in Telecommunication Company. Only 5% is held by a foreign shareholder or some foreign shareholders. Alright, now all these companies are Thai. Alright, they don't have the problem of the alien business operation license having to apply for that. They don't have to. This can operate telecommunication business. No problem. If you look at the Telecommunication Business Operation Act, พรบประกอบธุรกิจโทรคมนาคม it says that a company that wants to do telecommunication business, which includes internet business, okay, has to be at least 75% of its shares owned by a Thai person. Oh, this company has 95, not only 75%, 95% of its shares owned by a Thai person. No problem. It's a Thai company. It can operate telecommunication business. Alright. I have here 3 levels. In reality, it goes to another level as well. This is why there's another dotted line here, because there will be another level created. All these levels are created so as to hide the truth. The truth is here in green. Okay, this is how the preference shareholding actually work. The preference shareholding technique is actually applied in real life. Right? I don't mention any name. I just give you a rough example of how it's really carried out. Right? What the public sees. In our example here, what the public see is this. This is what the public sees. The public sees a company operating telecommunication business. The public sees that this is a Thai company with 95% of its shares owned by Red A. Alright? The foreigners hold the minority shares. 5% here, 10% here. This is what the public see. Alright? But if you trace back and back and back, you go back to AO company that is in a foreign country. Okay, that's all for this part.